my friends, you guys know my motto around, and if you don't, let me remind you. It's great to be in the Empire today, but you know what it's not great to be? It might not be all that great to be a Star Wars fan today. Unfortunately, you know, that one song from Queen, you know, Freddie Mercury, I don't know, a minor blip in music history, you know, they had that one song, boom, boom. Another one bites the dust, and well, that's kind of the motto for Star Wars, it seems like, lately, from their TV shows to their video games. It's been a pretty rough year in Star Wars in general, I think. Hopefully, you know, things turn out better for the future. You know, Andor Season 2 is around the corner. I'm pretty hyped for that. But today, my friends, we're talking about, yet again, another Star Wars game that has come and quickly left the door, my friends. Star Wars Hunters is officially closing. And if you guys have been following my channel, we've been kind of keeping tabs on this game. And you guys probably know, I've been having this sense that something's not right with this game, and I said I don't think it's gonna last long. And that's not me just trying to be negative. There's this sense I have. You know, I'm a director of the video game division, and you can tell when there's something missing in a game that's making it fun, making you want to log in and play, especially in this world where there are so many games from the console, PC, mobile space that are in the market. You got to stand out. Whether it's the IP, whether it's the way the game performs, or just the daily engagement from the mechanics in the game, this game was missing something, and I had a similar sense. For example, Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth, another mobile game for a different franchise, and you kind of knew back then, I was like, I don't like this game, there's something missing, and lo and behold, it closed a few months later. Star Wars Hunters is unfortunately joining that sense that I've been having. Let's just read what they have to say first. Star Wars Hunters, April 15th will be the final content update for Star Wars Hunters. You can still play the game in the newest update. Hunter Tuya will be made available for free for all users from April 15th onward, and the game will be playable until October 1st, 2025. I mean, let's just give a history, just the past couple years. Battlefront 2, even though they said the vision, the journey is complete, whatever it was, that Battlefront 2 had so much more potential than what it had. Furthermore, Star Wars Commander got closed a few years ago. What about Star Wars Force Unleashed? Games like that, Star Wars Lego Battles, boom. Cut. Yeah, it's rough out there, and the only game that's kind of standing strong for Star Wars is, well, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And for my Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which is probably the majority of you guys, I'm going to make sure we calm ourselves down. If you're thinking Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is the next, the chopping block, that sense isn't really tickling that I have, that something might be off with this game, and we'll talk about that. But Star Wars Hunters, let me go ahead and play just some gameplay in case you guys weren't familiar. I made a video and a couple streams on this game, you know, my honest review of Star Wars Hunters. And you guys, if you saw the video, I kind of said, I feel like on the best day possible, I felt like Star Wars Hunters was maybe at the very best a 6 out of 10. And I got a lot of flack for people like saying, well, this game is an 8, 9, 10. And there are several things for this game that felt like it could not hit that metric for me. And I felt like maybe 6 is even being generous. But that, again, that's on the best day possible. Few issues I had with this game. First and foremost, and I know if you read the comments on this video, a lot of people like the fact that there were no iconic characters in this game. It was all, as I kind of called it, it was the crunchy captain of Star Wars. It's all off-brand, you know, non-name Star Wars characters, which again, might be fun from a creative aspect. But again, when you're in a market of so many games out there, using an intellectual property like Star Wars is supposed to give you an advantage to get the game leg up inside the market. People want to come into the game. When you see Star Wars, you know, you might be thinking, oh, Vaders, the Mauls, the Padmes, the Jangos. This game was not that. You know, of course, I had my little fun with it. You know, it was cool playing as a stormtrooper. You know, they had, you know, Mandalorians and whatnot and Wookiees. And of course, that's cool. But at the end of the day, when you have games like Marvel Rivals, which did it the right way, because at the end of the day, this is basically an Overwatch clone, but for mobile only. They were trying to get this over to PC, but I guess that's not really going to see its full fruition and maybe try to help the game get a bit more traction. It was a clone at the end of the day of like the Overwatch model. But the problem is, first and foremost, it's got those knockoff type of characters here. Secondly, it was for mobile only. And this type of game, I felt like was not really the best game to play on a mobile first experience. PC, sure. But even then, I feel like people that play these type of Overwatch games on PC, they expect a lot more depth with the characters, regardless of whether it's the Captain Crunch or Crunchy Captain type of characters. At the end of the day, there needs to be some fun depth to the actual gameplay. This I felt like was lacking, and you can see I was talking about Marvel Rivals. And guess what? That sense that I have about if a game's gonna be a success or not, Marvel Rivals, I didn't have any concerns about it because they're leaning into why someone wants to play a Marvel game of this nature, of a live service, Overwatch type of battler. People want to play as the Iron Man. People want to play as, the Hulk, Captain America. The list goes on and on and on. And Marvel Rivals, well, guess what? They are doing excessively well. We're just in their first month, $130 million. I mean, the formula, in my opinion, was super simple for Star Wars. Create a world where people can play kind of like in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, a hero collector game, which allows you to collect, the Darth Vaders, even things like Darth freaking Bane. This is what people wanted. And all you do is just kind of take that collector aspect of the characters people want and just port it over to the Marvel Rivals type of system that they have. That was the $130 million model, in my opinion. It's very simple. Now, I don't know the details of the Star Wars Hunters license. Maybe they weren't able to get the known characters. They were also kind of pigeonholed in this really specific era inside of Star Wars, because Star Wars, they're very pertinent on making sure every game, movie in the canon universe, of course, fits on a particular timeline. And Star Wars Hunters, they kind of put in this awkward spot, after, Return of the Jedi, but also before The Force Awakens. So maybe that's why they couldn't talk about Darth Maul or the Padmes, the Anakins, the Kenobis, because they were, long gone before Hunters came around inside the timeline. I don't know. Or at the end of the day, it could just be very well that maybe it was a more expensive license to get all the name brand Star Wars characters. Again, I don't know what the licensing deal was. And that goes into another reason why I think this game is not going to do well. We're going to go over some of the recent metrics for Star Wars Hunters, and it's going to just paint the whole picture entirely why this game was not going to be around much longer. Actually, I'm surprised it lasted, what is it? They came out like last June, July. I was expecting at least a full year. It didn't even make it a full year, I guess. But at the end of the day, mobile games, especially when you're using a license and then you have all these different things that are cutting off your revenue, it adds up. And let's go look at those numbers real quick and why Marvel Rivals, I'm assuming they're licensing the Marvel license and they're able to keep forward in their game. Whereas if we go take a look at, let's go take a look at the Zynga portfolio. Where is Star Wars Hunters in the past month in the Zynga portfolio? Well, at the top of it, just for Android, they made $3 million. When it comes to Poker Zynga, okay, Harry Potter Puzzles and Spells, $2 million. Where's Star Wars Hunters in the portfolio? Rock bottom, only making $20,000 on Android, give or take. Sometimes the numbers might be a tad bit off in the past month. When you have to factor in, they're probably paying some top tier talent to make the game, right? The game doesn't look bad. It's all right. Art direction, not my preferred take I would have taken on Star Wars Hunters. It wasn't a bad looking game. They have to have all these people they got to pay. And then you have all the other expenses besides just the people you got to pay. And then you have to worry about iOS and Google. They all take a cut of your revenue, 30%, whatever it is, right? And then after that, you got to pay the license as well. $20,000 after all that, I can only assume they lost a lot of money. And at the end of the day, especially for a free-to-play game, I mean, just in general, games need money to be produced. Games need money to continue a live service. And at the end of the day, that is really the core of what happened there. Now, let's go quickly, if you want to see, for my Star Wars Galaxy people, if you're worried about Star Wars Galaxy, hold on. Let me show you something. So if we go ahead, pull this up. All right. Let's go look up EA Sensor Tower iOS. Let's just go see how Star Wars Galaxies do. Now, to be clear, I think Star Wars Galaxies, I wouldn't say my sense is like full on like worry mode, but it's been tickling me a little bit. It's like, something feels off. I feel like we're missing something in this game to keep it fun and engaging. But here's the difference. Even Star Wars Galaxies, which I feel like this past couple months, probably the lowest month I've seen Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes in a while. Just on the iOS side, they pulled in $3 million. And let's just say Android, probably $2 million. And they also have a dedicated PC client, which I'm assuming gets another solid portion. I'm guessing probably majority of the revenue still comes from iOS and Google. But the point aside, this game is still, maybe not making big bank like it was a couple years ago. Definitely one of its lower months. At the end of the day, I could imagine, even with the licensing, the Google fees, the iOS fees, they're still making money to justify production of this game. So I'm not all that concerned for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. This is a whole other conversation. I hope they do something to make the game a little bit more interesting, whether it's content and whatnot, but we're not going to focus too much on Galaxy Heroes. So for my Galaxy Heroes viewers, the game's still making money, even in its slower days. And that, I think, is a good sign to see. But at the end of the day, it's still incredibly disappointing that as a Star Wars fan in general, we're not getting the games that we want to see. And here's my hope, and this just goes not just for Star Wars video games that have been getting canned left and right. We've also seen Star Wars in general. Some of the recent shows have not been doing all that well. My hope is that maybe there's going to be sort of a renaissance period, and maybe we're at the lowest point. And you know what? We can only go up from here, right? Right? And maybe we'll end up getting sort of a renaissance like Marvel's been seeing. You know, Marvel, you had its amazing peak during Endgame, Infinity War, and they kind of went through this weird lull alongside Star Wars. And I feel like Marvel's kind of on the up and up again. They've been making some pretty banger games, pretty banger, movies out there. I mean, what was it? Deadpool, Wolverine, global hit of a movie. Marvel Rivals, a huge hit. So although it's very disappointing as a Star Wars fan, I'm hoping that they can see what they're basically Disney's sister IP is doing alongside Star Wars, and they can get the memo. All right, this is what players want. Let's give the players what they want at the end of the day. But it brings me no joy to make this video, my friends. I've made this video. I hate to say it. I've made these type of videos about Star Wars games being canned than Star Wars games being made, and something is not right about that. And let's not even talk about what happened to the other games. What's going on with Star Wars Eclipse? What's going on with the Star Wars The Knights of the Old Republic remake? Pretty disappointed, my friends. I was hoping that maybe they would be able to turn this game around for the better, but at the end of the day, I think this type of game was not really well suited for a mobile-only experience. And then for the PC audience, if they were going to port the PC, I feel like it was a little too simple for people that appreciate Overwatch, Marvel Rivals. And at the end of the day, if I'm playing a Star Wars live service type of game that's supposed to be kind of like this, where you're using a bunch of heroes to take on your opponents, I think people would have gravitated towards this way more if it was a cross-platform game, or even just PC, Steam, whatever the case might be, that utilized the big names that people love and associate with Star Wars. You couldn't tell me straight to my face that this game wouldn't be more successful if it was able to use Mandalorian, the Vaders, the Palpatines, the Padmes, the Anakin, the Asajj Ventress, the list goes on and on. I guess that's what Star Wars Battlefront 2 is trying to do, but unfortunately, that's another story of how they messed up the monetization. And even though they rebuilt, I think, the brand and kind of went from a low point to a high point for Battlefront 2, I'm guessing it wasn't making money to justify the live service cost, and they axed it. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel for Star Wars, right? Right? Well, I hope so. My friends, comment down below if you did play this game. Do you share some of my similar sentiment that I have for this game? Did you feel that little sense in the back of your mind? What makes a good game go off? I've had this too many times in recent years in games. I was hoping for success. The other example I gave was Lord of the Rings Heroes Middle-earth. I was really excited, and they let us down when it came to Lord of the Rings Heroes Middle-earth. And I think we all saw that one coming too. But my friends, we will hopefully get more Star Wars games in the future. Maybe for every like you guys leave, we increase the probability of getting a good Star Wars game that doesn't get canned in milliseconds by 0.0000069%, right? Yay! Anyways, thank you for stopping by. Enjoy your weekend. And although, as I said, it might not be great to be a Star Wars fan, it is great to be in our empire today.
Oh, it's great to be in the empire today. The sun never sets.